welcome to Sports on Tap. We're live at Z's Cream and Bean in Hinckley, Ohio, 2706 Boston Road. Great ice cream. Got to get up here. We had already just a great day so far as we had Buckeye head coach Mark Pinzoni on the show, along with running back Trevor Tomey and Nathan Polidori, the quarterback, and they're off to a 10-0 start and headed to the playoffs. And also Strongsville running back Zach Kahn, want to thank him for coming on. And now we're going to get right back at it with Week 10 recaps of our respected conferences. And we'll first start in the Greater Cleveland Conference. We have Josh Jeffy and Ed Dick here. Sean Duffy's on location in Florida. So, Josh, take it away with the Greater Cleveland Conference.
First game we'll start with actually happened on Saturday. It was the Euclid Panthers clinching a share of the GCC title with a 36-18 victory over the Shaker Heights Red Raiders. Euclid finishes the season 8-2 overall, 6-1 in the conference. Shaker started off 3-0, but then did not win a game in the conference. They finished 0-7, so overall they were 3-7. For Euclid, Craig Robinson had two rushing TDs and one passing TD, and Euclid is the 5th seed in Division I, Region 1 in the upcoming playoffs, which we'll talk here a little bit later on the show. Next game in the GCC, the other GCC Conference title winner, Solon, finishes with an 8-2 record, 6-1 overall, 49-14 victory over Medina. Medina finishes the season with a 2-5 record in conference, 4-6 overall. Solon will be the 7th seed in the playoffs. And in this game, they were led by cornerback Johnny Mooney once again, 16 of 20 passing, 219 yards, 4 touchdowns. Jimmy Daw was somewhat of a workhorse for the Medina Bees. He did finish with 130 yards of rushing, 1 touchdown. However, 121 of those yards came in the second half when Solon was already up 42-0. So you could say that was somewhat garbage time for them. This was the game of the week. This was one of my votes for Spotlight game, but I went with the rivalry instead. But Elyria with a big win, 27-24 over Menor. With that win, Elyria snuck into the playoffs. They are the 14th seed coming up. Menor is the 8th seed. But Elyria was led by running back Chris Atkinson. Game-winning touchdown with 11 seconds left. He finished with 25 attempts, 101 yards rushing, and 3 touchdowns. This is his second straight season of 1,000-plus yards.
Wow.
Elyria running backs Dante Beckett had 92 yards and 1 touchdown, and McCall Price added 73 yards on 16 carries. Sorry, not characters.
Was this Twitter?
Hashtag. SOT HSF. Menor, of course, on offense was led by quarterback Tadas Tadarunas, 303 yards, passing, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. And my main man, Jason Blizzard, 7 receptions, 175 yards, and a touchdown. He is an MVP candidate. But, again, Elyria needed this game to get into playoffs, and they came up and they won. My Spotlight game, we talked a little bit earlier with Zach Kahn. Little feedback there. That's okay. Strongsville with a 42-14 victory over Brunswick. Strongsville finishes 5-5 overall, 3-4 in the conference. Brunswick finishes 3-7 overall, 3-4 in the conference. Strongsville quarterback Ryan Robertson, 16 of 27, 255 yards, 4 touchdowns. Zach
Kahn.
90 yards and a touchdown on this one. Brunswick wide receiver Victor Talley had 100 yards receiving and a touchdown. Brunswick, though, was killed by turnovers. 4 turnovers, and they also had 10 penalties for 93 yards. This was a fast-paced game with a lot of plays. In total, both teams, 153 plays were run for a grand total 694 yards.
Nice.
So pretty interesting week in the GCC, to say the least. 4 out of the 8 teams are in the playoffs. We'll discuss a little later on in the show.
All right, Josh, thanks for the
You are quite
welcome.
Greater Cleveland Conference.
Now let's head Week 10 in the Southwestern Conference.
Southwestern Conference.
We had Avon traveling to Olmsted Falls, and it was Bulldogs quarterback Aaron Zawadzicki hit Kevin Meehan on a 35-yard touchdown pass. It was 7-0 Bulldogs at this point, but Avon responded with 21 straight points. At half, the score was 35-14. Avon put up 511 yards of total offense and wins big, 49-28. It was quarterback Jake Sopko. He finished with 21 of 27 passing for 315 and 3 touchdowns, while running back Garrett Choate added another 151 yards and 3 touchdowns. For Olmsted Falls, it was Spencer Linville. He was held to 89 yards, and Zawadzicki for Olmsted Falls, a quarterback, he had 208 yards and 3 touchdowns on the day. Avon Lake traveling to North Olmsted. It was the last game at North Olmsted's football field, as they're looking to improve that field. But North Olmsted, they had a 14-7 lead after one quarter as quarterback Christian Ammons connected with wide receiver Ryan Coleman on a 24-yard strike. Then Avon Lake would score 21 unanswered points. Both teams would score one time in each quarter. It was Avon Lake holding on 42-27 as Sam Klimkowski scored 2 touchdowns to help lead Avon Lake. Avon Lake 4-6 on the year. North Olmsted falls to 5-5, and actually Avon's, I didn't give their record. They're 9-1. Olmsted Falls fell to 6-4. Berea Mid-Park, they traveled to Westlake, and this game went back and forth all game as Joey Bocci started off on a 5-yard run. The kick failed. It was 6-0 after one quarter. In the second quarter, then Trent Bialois on a 25-yard pass to Rose made it 7-6. That's Terrence Rose, the wide receiver. Berea Mid-Park then would score, and Westlake would score. It went back and forth all game. The offense picked up in the second half as it was 14-14 at half, and overall it was 38-35. Westlake surprises Berea Mid-Park as Westlake improves to 3-7 on the year. Berea Mid-Park falls to 7-3. Trey Bialois led Westlake. He was the quarterback. He threw for 194 yards and 3 touchdowns. And Terrence Ross, the wide receiver for Westlake, 6 catches for 85 yards. Jaquan Hardy, we've talked about him all year, 223 yards on 22 carries. He had 2 touchdowns on the day. Joey Bocci led Berea Mid-Park with 2 touchdowns, and running back Sean Epps, he had a nice 22-yard run for a touchdown. And that game was back and forth. Great game to watch. North Ridgeville, they traveled to Midview, and this was an absolute great game as Midview jumped out to a 14-0 lead as quarterback Dustin Crum, he's back in there, and he connected with his favorite target, Logan Bolin. He targeted him twice. That gave him a 14-0 lead. Then North Ridgeville answered back, scoring twice with Colin Solinger scoring once, and running back Cameron Bright also scoring. It was 14-14 at half. Then Logan Bolin opened up the third quarter with a 42-yard pass from Crum. Midview would score again to make it 28-14 at this point. Then Ridgeville again would match and score twice with Jordan Montgomery on an 87-yard kickoff return for a touchdown. It was tied at 28 going to the fourth. But then it was Logan Bolin, as he was the difference, as Midview escapes with a 35-28 win, going undefeated on the year at 10-0 as they head to the playoffs. North Ridgeville also making the playoffs. They fall to 7-3. Crum total 410 yards and 4 touchdowns, all going to Logan Bolin, who's a candidate for my MVP. And Logan Bolin, 20 catches, 310 yards, and 4 scores. Now, my spotlight game was Amherst against Lakewood, both trying to win their first game of the season. It was 0-0 at the end of one, and then Amherst would score on an Alan Matakovich field goal, 25-yard field goal. It was 3-0, that in the second quarter. And that's actually how the second quarter would go and end as Amherst led 3-0. Then Lakewood kicker James Marshall would answer and tie the game with a 32-yard field goal. It was 3-3, and I knew Ed Dick would appreciate the kicking in this game as the kickers were very impressive in this one. As Amherst stepped up for a 29-yard field goal from comic kicker Ryan Sturgeon. Lakewood's Michael Goolsby rushed the line, got through, took the ball right off of Sturgeon's foot, and he managed to go all the way for a touchdown. That was the only touchdown. Actually, no, it wasn't the only touchdown. It was a touchdown for the Rangers in the game. It was 10-3 at this point. There were 2 touchdowns in the game And then Mark Harris with a 98-yard kickoff return that would tie the game up. Lakewood and Amherst were tied at 10. And then it was Lakewood kicker James Marshall on to attempt a 31-yard field goal. He had one from 31 blocked early in the game, but this time it was good. The final, 13-10, Lakewood over Amherst. Lakewood improves to 1-9. Amherst 0-10 on the year. And, that was a defensive performance by both teams, but Lakewood gets the win. Great job by every team, though, in the Southwestern Conference, just playing their hearts out each and every week. And we'll talk a little bit about the playoff, or actually our conference MVPs coming up. But now let's head to the Suburban League and then Dick.
Suburban League.
Oh.
American Division.
American. I like it.
All right. Well, this was prepared by our own Sean Duffy, who is currently on assignment in Florida. I'm sure he doesn't envy us right now. Actually, right now it's not too bad, but we'll dig right into it. Aurora laid the smackdown on Talmadge, shutting them out 45-0. Aurora's Nolan Sotka had 3 passing touchdowns. Gavin Blunt had 2 receiving touchdowns. With the win, Aurora clinches a share of the Suburban League American Division title. They are the number 1 seed in Division II, Region 3. Talmadge finishes the season 2-8 overall, 2-4 in the conference. Revere and Barberton did battle. Brandon McCall, the perennial MVP candidate for the Suburban League American Division, he did not disappoint in this game. 304 yards rushing with 5 touchdowns. Barberton smokes Revere 48-20. Barberton, a great season, 7 wins. Unfortunately, not good enough to make the playoffs. Both teams were eliminated from playoff contention. Barberton finishes their season 7-3 overall, 3-3 in the division. Revere, the Minutemen, are 3-7 overall and winless in the division. As is customary every week, because there are an odd number of teams in the division, each team does play a non-conference game each week. Copley had the pleasure of playing Bedford. The Bearcats playing against the Indians here, and it was a pretty solid games going forward. Copley actually rallied from an early 13-point deficit in this game. Another perennial MVP candidate, Weston Bridges, had 4 rushing touchdowns. Copley gets the win, 41-31. This clinches a share of the Suburban League American Division title for Copley, and with the win, they are in the playoffs, Division II, Region 3, where they are the number 4 seed. They will host Hudson in Week 11. To the spotlight game of the week, and this was a shocker, I'm not going to lie. I don't think anyone saw this coming, but Highland and Kent Roosevelt, it was a relatively quiet first half. Kent Roosevelt actually led 10-7 at the half, after which it turned to a pretty back-and-forth affair between the two teams. Kent Roosevelt had the chance to lead by 10 points in the final minute, but after a 7-yard loss on a run by senior Trevon Richardson, senior Mason Fear's 43-yard field goal attempt fell just short. With new life, Highland senior receiver Joe Weincheck catches a jump ball from quarterback Tyler Zelinski, outraces the defense for an 80-yard touchdown to tie the game with 25 seconds left in the game to force overtime. Highland loses the coin toss. They ended with the ball first. Highland did have first and goal from Kent Roosevelt's 10-yard line, but Manny Della Serna was stripped on the next play, recovered by the Rough Riders of Kent Roosevelt. Kent Roosevelt started the drive in field goal range. He got a little bit closer. Mason Fear is good from 30 yards out, sealing the upset for Kent Roosevelt. Kent Roosevelt kind of struggled over the course of the year, but this was a huge win for their program. Just some individual statistics. Kent Roosevelt's Trevon Richardson had 55 yards rushing and 56 yards receiving. For the Highland Hornets, Manny Della Serna had 28 carries for 149 yards. Despite the loss, Highland does secure a playoff spot in Division II, Region 4. However, the loss did cost them a chance to be tri-champions of the Suburban League American Division. With the loss, Highland in Division 4 or Division 2, Region 4 will travel to Avon for their first week of the playoffs. The story of this game, guys, was costly turnovers for Highland led to an opportunistic victory for the Kent Roosevelt Rough Riders. Shifting over to my league, the Suburban League National Division. Starting in Macedonia, the Nordonia Knights punched their ticket into the Division II Region 3 playoffs with a 45-37 victory over a very game Wadsworth Grizzly squad. Anthony Perrine scored another 3 rushing touchdowns while rushing 15 times for 149 yards. Quarterback Justin Post was 13 of 20 passing for 252 yards and a score. Wadsworth's Dan Weinerman closes his career as the 4th running back in Wadsworth history to eclipse 3,000 rushing yards in a career, as he had 33 rushes for 226 yards and 2 touchdowns. MVP candidate for sure. These teams combined for over 850 yards in the game. Nordonia is the number 8 seed in the Division II Region 3 playoffs. They will travel to number 1 Aurora in the first round of the playoffs. Wadsworth ends their season 3-7 overall, 3-4 in the conference. Stowe Monroe Falls completed a perfect 10-0 regular season with a 31-6 triumph over North Royalton. Jason Gobble, running back for Stowe, scored 2 touchdowns, one from 40 yards and another from 63 yards out, to finish with 17 carries for 150 yards. The Bulldogs D held the Bears to only 10 yards rushing on 21 carries. Stowe finishes as the number 2 seed in Division I Region 1. They will host number 15 Berea Mid-Park in the first round of the playoffs. North Royalton finishes the season 3-7 overall, 2-5 in the conference. Hudson needed a win to solidify a playoff berth, while Brecksville Broadview Heights needed a win to stay in contention. The Explorers proved their mettle, shutting out the Beast 26-0. Roman Moreno scored on both sides of the ball, scoring on an 11-yard interception return and a 7-yard touchdown run. Without Luke Sternad and Tyler Tupa, the Bees just could not get anything going against the Explorers, as Brecksville was held to just 130 yards of total offense. With the win, Hudson advances as the number 5 seed in Division II Region 3. They will travel to number 4 Copley for regional quarterfinal action. Brecksville, despite 7 wins... Hold on a sec. He's trying to take my milkshake away. Hold on a sec here.
Every last drop. Every last drop.
Gotta play through the pain. I guess it's good now. Thank you very much. What are you trying to say here? Very good. Thank you very much. I just destroyed that chocolate milkshake and destroyed this segment. Anyways, Brecksville, despite their 7 wins, they dropped to 7-3 overall, 4-3 in the conference, not able to qualify for the playoffs. The spotlight game of the week between the 2 teams who entered Week 10, they sure put on a show as Twinsburg was able to secure their only win of the season against Cuyahoga Falls in a 46-35 shootout. The Tigers got on the board early with a 76-yard punt return for a touchdown from Sean Smith. The Black Tigers scored the next 3 touchdowns as Devontae Frigas caught a 33-yard touchdown pass from Nate Vasilati in the first quarter. Vasilati then ran for a 1-yard touchdown score in the second quarter, and Dwayne Matthews punched one in from 27 yards out. Twinsburg puts up the next 3 scores. Jalen Tucker hits Devontae Washington for a 15-yard score to cut the Black Tiger lead before the half. Jared Eaton ran for a 43-yard touchdown in the third quarter to tie the game at 21 between Twinsburg and Cuyahoga Falls. Tucker then hit DeAnthony White for a 53-yard touchdown to give Twinsburg a 27-21 lead. Cuyahoga Falls retook the lead with a Dwayne Matthews 3-yard touchdown run before Washington caught a 40-yard touchdown pass from Tucker to put Twinsburg back on top, 33-28. Twinsburg then pushed their lead to 46-28 with a 46-yard touchdown pass from Tucker to White and also a 16-yard run from Sean Smith. The Black Tigers did get one more score as Mason Shook caught a 64-yard touchdown pass from Vasilati, but that was the closest Cuyahoga Falls would get. Twinsburg's Jalen Tucker completed 11 of 17 passing for 217 yards and 4 touchdowns. DeAnthony White had 2 catches for 99 yards and 2 touchdowns. Cuyahoga Falls' quarterback Nate Vasilati threw for 2 touchdowns and ran for another. With the win, Twinsburg improves to 1-9 overall, 1-6 in the division. Unfortunately, Cuyahoga Falls finishes their season 0-10. Gentlemen,
Start
That
your
is the
engines.
That is the Suburban League, American and National Division.
Exciting.
Great job.
Exciting week 10.
It was.
Yeah, a lot of scoring still, and it's crazy that it's week 10. But now we know what time it is. It's our conference MVPs, and it's presented by Z's Cream.
Sports
and
on
Bean.
Tap now gives its conference MVPs, presented by Z's Cream and Bean, located at 2706 Boston Road in Hinckley, Ohio.
All right, and let's start off first in the Greater Cleveland Conference. Josh.
Well, I had some good nominees, but however, I went ahead and gave it to a group of guys. I actually gave it to the Elyria Pioneer running backs, led by Chris Atkinson. Also in there is Dante Beckett and Macaw Price. Those guys led Elyria to a very hard-fought, well-deserved, much-needed victory. And it's just my opinion, but it was because of them they got into the playoffs with a big victory. So I'm not going to give it to one player. I'm going to give it to the entire running back staff of the Elyria Pioneers.
And well-deserved, a great win for them, and congratulations to those players. Now the Southwestern Conference MVP, and he was my MVP one other time this year, but it's Midview wide receiver Logan Bolin, who finished with 20 catches. Actually, he might have had 30 catches. Let's see. Where was it at on here?
He had 20 touchdown catches.
He had, either way, he had 310 yards and 4 scores. I have down he had 20 catches, but I thought actually he had 30. But I could be wrong. Let's see. Actually, no, 20 catches for 310 yards and 4 scores.
Not a bad day.
He's my conference
Solid.
MVP. I mean, that's unbelievable for a wide receiver. So congratulations to Logan Bolin, my Southwest Conference MVP. Now head over to the Suburban League and Ed Dick.
All right, in the American Division, we had 4 candidates. Barberton's Brandon McCall, 304 rushing yards, 5 touchdowns. Copley's Weston Bridges, 4 rushing touchdowns. Highlands' Manny Della Serna, 28 carries for 149 yards. And number 4, he is the Week 10 MVP, and I think he did this just because he likes me. Senior kicker from Kent Roosevelt, Mason Fear, with a 30-yard field goal to win the game over over Highland.
You could say one thing about not only do we have good high school football teams, good players, some of these players on these teams in our area have great names.
They do. Mason Fear. I mean, you can't make that stuff up.
No, that's a great name.
Absolutely. Over to the National Division, Dan Weinerman had 33 rushes for 226 yards and 2 touchdowns. Solid effort. Also with solid games, DeAnthony White, 2 catches for 99 yards and 2 touchdowns for Twinsburg. Cuyahoga Falls and Nate Vassilotti had 3 total touchdowns. But my Week 10 MVP goes to Twinsburg's quarterback, Jalen Tucker, 11 of 17 passing for 217 yards and 4 touchdowns, leading Twinsburg to their only win of the season, a 46-35 triumph over Cuyahoga Falls. Jalen Tucker, congratulations.
Very nice. Great stats for those guys and great games. Right now, what we're going to do is we'll step away, we'll take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to go over some of the teams that made the playoffs and tell you where they're playing and against who. All coming up. We're Sports on Tap, part of the NEO Sports Insiders Network. We're live from Z's Cream and Bean.
For the best coverage of Cavs, Indians, and Browns, check out neosportsinsiders.com. neosportsinsiders.com brings you breaking news, opinions, and video from all things related to your favorite Cleveland sports teams. Like us on Facebook and follow at NEO Sports Insiders on Twitter for live updates from all the games. neosportsinsiders.com, bringing you the best in Northeast Ohio sports coverage.
Join Sports on Tap the first Thursday of every month at Z's Cream and Bean, 2706 Boston Road in Hinckley, Ohio, as Sports on Tap talks local Ohio high school sports, Cleveland sports, and national sports topics. It's all happening at Z's Cream and Bean the first Thursday of every month starting at 7:30 p.m. Join us. You're listening to Sports on Tap's Ohio High School football coverage live on Mixlr. Live streaming every Monday night at 7:30 p.m. Remember to check us out on Twitter at SOT Podcast and use the hashtag SOTHSF to post score, stats, and pictures from all your high school football games. Like us on Facebook and listen to all of our archive shows on iTunes, YouTube, and Podomatic. Again, our coverage starts every Monday night at 7:30 p.m. We're Sports on Tap.
That's what she said.
Ready?